How y'all doing? What's up? Let's do a quick patch preview. Let's just quickly check out the patch and see what is happening, you know? This is the patch where VelKoz dies, chat. This is the patch where they murder VelKoz. As you guys know, recently we had 0 VelKoz challengers in the world. 0. That is Turkey, Nordic and East, Russia, all of those regions, 0 challengers. And usually there's at least one on those. The only 2 challengers was me in EU West and me in Korea. So that is a big problem for VelKoz community. And this patch, if my estimation is correct, is going to be even worse. Because the key item that's utilized in 3 roles for VelKoz, mid, support, and AP carry, his key item in those roles, Horizon Focus, is getting changed entirely. So I hope they pulled it. Yeah, system changes, Lichbane. I don't see. I hope it's not there. Because they were getting wobbly on the change. They changed it so many times on the Spider Axe tweets, and they didn't instantiate some changes literally one night after Freak talked to me, which was pretty interesting. I'm glad that our feedback got taken in wholeheartedly. So we did make a bit of a push, a bit of a move, a bit of a case for mages and item differences, because I made an argument, a pretty compelling one, I think, that the Rod of Ages would be still the norm despite the Rod of Ages nerfs, because the Catalyst is truly the problem. And it doesn't really matter if you lose 300 and 233 gold, I think it was, on the Rod on completion. It's not that big of a deal because you don't care about Rod Spike anyway. You care about the level and you care about the Catalyst and the early build path. So I made a case that people are not going to buy mage items. Like, you're going to have regular mages buying Rod forever for next patches. So I wanted some trade-off introduced, and I was hoping that instead of making mage items worse, that they buff the Lost Chapter items. And I think that's what happened. I mean, we'll see though. Could be that they are reneged or not. We'll see. Let's see. So this is interesting. Why? Again, the Fury, man. Bro, they really just don't want to fix this champ. They're so lazy. It's just always percentages. Nefiri, what do we got? Fiddle. Yeah, Fiddle getting toned down on baseline, I think, is correct. That's super correct. A lower baseline, more AP, buffing the regular Fiddle, nerfing the support. Very well. Lulu getting early game nerf, it's a big deal. Early game is kind of strong, but now she's gonna be nothing but like a sideline character. Just assisting a Fed Twitch or whatever, Kog'Maw. What's happening with Cho'Gath? He gets more attack speed, making his E more relevant. Was the E change? Holy fuck, that's a lot of numbers. So baseline same, percent or AP percent same. The only difference is per fee stack of max health. So that one goes slightly higher. So his E is gonna do more damage per ult. I think that's cool. I like that mechanic. Because you want the bigger Cho'Gath with bigger Whirlpool spikes to, like, really destroy you. I like that. I like that. That's a cool idea. And Rupture, less base damage, same AP. That's fine. Overall, I think a buff for Cho'Gath. Gain health grow lower, cool. Let's see. Senna, crit chance per 20 stacks. This, I'm not really sure how it interacts. I'm not a big Senna expert. I have no idea. I know that there's Senna, like, they keep going the same back and forth on Senna all the time, where she becomes like a superb AD carry without farming, then she becomes a useless AD carry and she's played support, and that's all due to the drop rate. It's tied to the drop rate and the stacking, so I'm not sure how that impacts her. This, like, higher crit chance and soul drop rate on minion monster kill way higher. I'm guessing they're trying to push her into AD carry again. That is my guess. Piercing Darkness is same base damage and less AP. Scaling, okay. Let's see the smolder. Q damage per stack 0.3 to 0.4. Q burn per stack 0.4 to 0.5. E hit damage per stack 0.1, 0.12. Minor changes in stacking. I mean, he was a shit champ anyway. That's fine. I hope Vi gets a nerf. So the baseline damage goes down and way less bonus AD. That's interesting. And max damage... Oh, max damage is increased with slightly less bonus, so it's kind of compensated. So just lower baseline damage, all in all. Ult normalized mana cost, but lower base. And bug. Okay, cool. I like that. It's a minor tap on baseline vibe, which is, I think, correct. Yeah, fuck this guy. He gets too tanky anyway. Yumi, we don't really care. Slightly lower. Okay, here's the big deal. Here's the big deal. Because they kept going, like, this Bloodletter Curse had like 7 changes. Same with Criploom on Twitter before the real change. So we had no idea where it's gonna land. So what happened is they have the same Axe Shred. Instead of now needing 6 stacks, you need 4 stacks, which is, I think, cool. It's a lot more applicable. Because this is the reason you buy it, generally. You don't buy it for health and AP, because if you wanted health and AP, you just buy like fucking Riftmaker or Landry's. You buy it specifically for this reason. And the fact that this is more reliable makes more sense. I think that's cool. I don't think they should go over 30%, but the ease of access is there. I like that. Definitely good change. And on top of that, not only is it more reliable, which I don't know how to quantify the value, it gives you 50 more health and 5 more AP, which is 233 gold value extra for the same price. So Bloodletter is now genuinely alright. It's generally a decent item, I would say. If you have 3 AP characters, it's kind of justified to buy this on Vel'Koz as like a support or AP carry or mid, and you can assist your teammates by doing this. So that's alright. Let's see which Criploom iteration we got. Okay, I see. Okay, so it's more expensive, 150 gold. It got 300 gold in AP value. It's got slightly different build path now, because it gives you now 20 CDR anyway. So instead of doing this with high cost, now it's Blind Jewel and double Codex and gold, making it a lot more purchasable, which is going to compensate a decent bit for the higher price, because it's going to feel like it's cheaper with these items. And they just nerfed the AP percent a little bit. They didn't touch the flat like they did, or they touched the one before a little bit, but it's like a minor difference. So the heal on 1k AP would be like 300, which is not that great, but given the fact that it's like on 5 players, like ideally, it's 1.5k. You can even lower it, so on 500 AP you get 201k per team, which is decent. I think it's alright. The only problem with this is that it's going to be a bit more expensive. And I always like Criploom because if you want to go flexible, this is like a high elo nerf. What I mean by that is in high elo, you will very often, if you radically need magic penetration percent, you will buy something like Blighting Jewel and then sit on it. And then on the next recall before, like, let's say, Dragon Fight, you're going to force whichever item you can. So very often what would happen, I would recall with 1750 and I just buy Criploom because you need 1900 for Void Staff. And now both of them are going to be 1900. So that's going to be a slight problem for those very efficient makeshift recalls right before key fights. And now I don't like that the both items that build in the same way with the Blighting Jewel, because when you start it, you kind of have to complete one of the you can't pivot into Bloodletter Curse if you start with the Blighting Jewel, right? And they're both same price. I don't like that. This would make sense more if Void Staff would get higher price on like 3.2k, 3.3. I think I would like that a bit more. It would be a cool design choice because I don't like them both being same price. It feels lazy, it feels boring. So Rocket Belt price only 50, so basically irrelevant. Purchase is now slightly better, I'd say. Very cheap components, extremely cheap components, right? 400, 400, 300, 400, 450, or like 250, 200, and then 400 plus 300. Super, super easy. Very easy to buy. Updated code bolt indicators accurately represent bolt angles and ranges. Item now manually cast with a click to confirm. Gains 5 AP haste, which it's very difficult to calculate the value of haste. There are some websites that do that for you, but I think we just do it conceptually, like theoretically. I don't think it makes too much difference to come up with a random number because you're going to value ability haste differently in different cases. For example, if you have full damage build on Vel'Koz, you have zero haste. Buying one Fiendish Codex, which is usually a shit component, means so damn much because you get more rotations in, which means radically more damage, even though it's a shit component. So yeah, that's why I don't think haste is very valuable to calculate anyway. Okay, so it loses 50 health, that's minus 133 gold, and this minus 50, so that's minus 200 gold efficiency. You get 5 haste, and you get 10 AP, which is also 200 gold. So basically shuffle the resource into AP, and you get 5 haste and slightly different build path. So what this signals to me is slightly more reliable item. That's about it. Slightly more reliable and slightly more snowbally, I would say, due to haste and AP. So nearly same, but slightly better, I would say. No, it's there! My beloved is doomed. Okay, Hypershot damage amp gone. Reduced to atoms. Double Fiendish Codex has now been pushed to Fiendish and the blasting one, making it more expensive and more difficult to purchase. So that is a downside. 200 gold shuffled around here. That is really fucking shit. So if we lose the 10% damage, it's more expensive, more difficult to purchase. This harms supports more than anybody else, because the gold purchase is very, very key in support, because you like the ability to go triple Amtome instead of Amtome blasting wand. This makes the purchase more difficult. More difficult, and exceptionally more difficult in support. More expensive. You lose the amp, which really fucking sucks, and they shuffle the amp into AP. So even if you disregard the shitty purchase build, or shittier, let's see how this fares money-wise, right? The problem is we can't really quantify the Hypershot damage amp to 10%. It's extremely difficult, because you have to go into proportion of situations where you proc it versus where you don't proc it, and then the value of those procs individually also needs to go into account. It's crazy difficult. So essentially what happens, it gained 35 ability power. 35 ability power is 700 gold value, but it's now 200 more expensive. So that's 500 net bonus for the 10% and a shittier build path and a more expensive purchase. You cannot disregard how much total gold impacted, because we talked about the high elo and efficiency of recalls, right? There will be a significant percentage of games where you would have had Horizon in the previous patch, but you wouldn't on this one due to the 200 gold difference. During that period, your team might be taking a fight on the Dragon, or Grubs, or Herald, and you might be there, and you might not snowball or get the efficiency that you would otherwise, and in this build you wouldn't. That is also a problem. That is also a problem. So all in all, 500 gold for 10% and less efficient purchase. It's got one of the highest APs in the game, that being said, but it's a very weird item. It doesn't fit any unique line of gameplay. It's just a little bit of everything slapped on to this Frankenstein of an item, you know? It's just the shell of its former self, I would say. It has nothing individual. And this, again, what we talked with Freak, and what I was worried about is they like doing this. This is their design principle. For a real long time, they want to create all the items in kind of similar fashion, where they all give you a bit of everything, so they can be super flexible and built by everybody. I don't like that. I like a little bit of exclusivity between the items. I think some items should be niche, some items should be cool. And another thing I can't really reconcile in my brain is you're making a more expensive item, keeping the utility element lower, increasing the damage, but removing the damage. Like, I don't understand that point, because the whole idea in my mind is you want to have a cheap version of Horizon that gives you vision. So let's say they make a support version of this for 2500, which gives you like 50 AP, but it gives you the vision. And then you have a more expensive version, which is around 3k, which gives you the damage percent on long range, right? So you have two different options which you want to go. Either snowball through damage on a high range, or snowball through vision and utility. Because, let me give an example. Like, very often, you can have a game, enemies have Shaco, Zac, or Vieg, or whatever the fuck, right? They have Zoe, they have these, like, weird champs that play on really long range, right? They're invisible or play long range. Okay, how do you counter it? You pivot into Horizon, so when you hit somebody, you will know the profile of their composition, where everybody is around the dragon fight or baron fight, that allows you to enter the area without getting Zoe bubbled stupidly, without getting engaged by Zac stupidly, and all of these things. Now it's way more difficult to pivot into the item because it's more difficult to purchase. So it's less flexibly purchasable in a necessary case for division. That's why utility should almost never be tied to super expensive items, right? Utility should be tied with like more flexible items, whereas damage should be tied to the more expensive items like high damage burst comes from Death Cap, and there's a super snowbally item, but it's balanced within itself. It's a very cool design principle of Death Cap, that it's an incredible item, but you need to be smart when to purchase it, because you need to buy 1200, and now it's 1100, and it used to be 1200, because now they buffed it by, they lowered the cost by 100 gold. But it's self-balancing, right? Enemy wants to get it to destroy you, but during the purchasing of it, they're gonna have some gaps in their armor. They're gonna have weaknesses. That's the way I think about this. And snowball items should be more expensive, and utility items shouldn't be that expensive. So this is a very weird, as I said, Frankenstein of an item. I don't know exactly. Like, it's just, they want it to be there. Just there. Like, a little bit of everything, a little bit of nothing. It just, I don't know. I don't know. Horizon Focus got into the point of that Cosmic Drive, where Cosmic Drive used to be kind of more honed item doing a very specific thing, and now it's just the weirdness of giving you CDR, HP, AP, move speed. Just a little bit of everything, you know, slapped on. This is the same thing now. So yeah. We get another one. Line Ray minus 10 AP, 200 gold value down on this. This is a big hit to the AP mages. Like, if you want to build Victor tanky and you buy Line Ray, if you want to build VelKoz tanky and build Line Ray, this is also going to harm VelKoz. So not only is Horizon gone, Line Ray is nerfing VelKoz by 200 gold every game you purchase it. So every game you buy Line Ray, you're losing 2/3 of a kill. If you're 1-0, you're almost essentially 0-0 when you buy this. So that's a big deal. This is huge, by the way. Again, these things we talked about is, you're getting why is this insane, okay? This is insane because if you do the math like we did earlier, it's 15 AP for 300 gold. You would say, okay, that's equal, right? The item just got equalized. No, it didn't. This item is insanely way better now. First of all, you don't have to buy the needlessly large rod. There's numerous instances, even in regular gameplay, where that's going to matter. But on the other hand, for junglers, there are specific setups where now you can get the blasting one, and needlessly large rod was off the table. Because junglers operate on very calculable resources that are limited. They're finite resources. They calculate the purchases off of their rotations, how many jungle camps they do. So now the weak point for a lot of junglers is fucking removed. Whereas you get nothing but benefit. Sheen, Etherwisp, Blasting One, and it's a lot cheaper by itself for the same exact passive. Because let's run this experiment. What if you take away all the ability power of the item and just remove the gold for it? Right? What happens? The item becomes super cheap, but the active still remains the same. The active doesn't lose the value. So yeah, essentially what's unchanged is the active value of the item. So the lowering of the total cost is better relatively to the active, because active is always the same. So the more accessible the item, the better it is. So not only is this build path infinitely better, but it's a lot cheaper. So this is just a massive buff on Lich Bane, by the way, to a lot of these characters that have been dominating solo queue anyway. Okay, now this, I'd like to take a piece of credit for this. Now, I don't know if I had any impact of it, but it is a fact. The day after talking with Freak, this got lowered because, as I said, Road of Ages is much better, and there's no reason to buy Ludens or Malignants and stuff like that. And these ones got fixed a little bit. So this gets 100 gold value, and this gets 100 gold value in just a different way by buying it earlier. And buying earlier Ludens is cool because Ludens is a snowball item in itself. It's a pure damage item, whereas Malignance is a more utility item. So I think they were both buffed in the more impactful way. For example, giving 5 AP to Ludens is not a big deal as much as lowering 100 gold. Vice versa for Malignance, I think giving 5 AP is cool compared to the lowering, because the gold is already low for Malignance. Like, you don't want to increase the Malignance cost. Anyway, it's like a really... I'm getting dizzy. There's so much shit, but this is very important. These design principles, they matter. Morello should have never been this expensive item. As we talked, again, utility item. It's a utility item. The amount of games you have to purchase this is very annoying, and it's a useless shit item. So you don't want to buy it. You legit don't want to buy this item, but sometimes you have to. For example, your support, you're locked in the build path. You have like your support item, you're buying pink wards, and you're buying Oblivion Orb for your team, right? You lost, and you got boots, so you lost 4 slots. You lost 4 fucking slots of your items. And now, your item is like your items are cloaked and you can't buy anything but Morello, but now you have to cough out like $3,000 to buy this dog shit ass item. And it's really, really bad because the heaviest price falls upon the backs of the poor supports who are on like welfare and they cannot afford it. So this 100 gold matters decent bit, but even still it's super shit item. So I don't know what to tell you. I think this Morello, as we talked about, a utility item should be cheaper and more accessible. Give less resources, but cheaper and more accessible. And Morello should be cheaper. Anyway, this is another big deal. Now chat's gonna say, but who buys Nashers? Fucking everybody, okay? Nashers being 100 gold cheaper is a big deal because a lot of the champions that buy Nasher, they buy it always first item and then rely on that spike so damn much. Buying it 100 gold earlier is a big deal because it's their core item, especially when you pair up the cumulative effect of both of these being cheaper. So now if you're going 2 item for Nasher Lichbane, you're 400 gold up. Okay? It's a lot cheaper. And if you tie Deathcap as a third item, which a lot of those champions do, it's another 100. So that's 500 gold up for those abusers like Gwen. But yeah, Deathcap is now more accessible for everybody. So a lot of the mages did get out slightly better deal. VelKoz did not. VelKoz did not. 2 of his core items got completely killed. Not completely killed, but really, really nerfed. And that's a big problem. I think this is cool for Seraphs. I looked at this change on Twitter when they were like doing like 4 different ones trying to land on one. I think this is a good change. It loses baseline in current mana. I never understood the current mana thing. I never liked that. It made the item really weird. And so now they give it just flat 18% mana. That's it. It's max mana. So it doesn't matter if you're low mana, you're still gonna get a decent shield, but without the lifeline here. Storm Surge, 100 gold cheaper, 2% move speed. But you lost the move speed on proccing the Squall and gold on preemptive takedown. So if somebody blows up before the Storm Surge procs, you lost the gold on it. But it's now a bit more reliable in terms of purchasing power and like you get 2% move speed. Move speed is inherently a bit more snowbally. So this will definitely be an item we're going to test out on Vel'Koz. It's likely going to be shit again, because it seems like a bait, but I imagine there will be an option to buy it sometimes, but I don't know. I don't like that. I mean, I don't like this item in general for Vel'Koz. It's a bit of a sus item. Like if you're gonna go penetration build, it's much more beneficial for you to go Shadow Flame. Unseal Spellbook has more swaps now. I don't like this. I don't like Spellbook at all. I don't think it should be a keystone. It should be removed. But yeah, and that's about it. All in all, I think majority of the mages got a bit better. Vel'Koz got a little bit like back and forth, but overall I think it's on the negative side. I can't quantify yet how much until I can understand this, how it fares in a game, right? Theoretically, I would say this is a big deal, and we'll see that with the impact on the win rate and everything. We'll figure it out, because again, all 3 Vel'Koz builds use this. All 3 Vel'Koz playstyles use this, and both of them got harmed tremendously. Your build pad is now more expensive and less efficient. The way I see it, if we didn't have any Vel'Koz challengers in the world before, we probably won't after. I think it's gonna be even worse. And I think Vel'Koz will likely not be receiving a buff for compensation, because it got touched on quite recently and probably not gonna get pushed to the forefront. So we're looking at a very grim potential season coming down the line. So yeah, holy moly, that was a long ass patch. We've seen the new skin spotlight tweet about WASD movement. Nope. WASD will be coming to a new as a new official input method. Flash has 3 setting: cursor, WASD, with cursor in hands, WASD, cursor for what? What the fuck? That feels so weird. So you move WASD, you still cast ER generally, and you can do mouse or abilities and whatever. That's so weird, man. Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest point here is they want to appeal to newer demographic of audience. There's one more accessible for a bunch of new players, I think. I think it's about the drawing new fresh blood, because the only people who are used to people are just playing QWER like since forever, you know, old people. Interesting. I'm trying to think if I could be better with this. Like, what would be theoretical potential of a player It's so weird for my brain to process this right now. To decouple the movement and put it on like your left hand instead of the right hand, and then do the World of Warcraft movement. I think theoretical potential would be better with this, no? Like if let's say you're a perfect player in both, I think it'd be better with this. I imagine you can have quicker responses to avoid abilities. How would how would the angles work then? How would the angles work if you're just doing like the this and then this, you know? Even if you combine the keys, you still get nothing but 8 directions. You have to use a controller. Like imagine people in pro play it, like in the future they start playing with like that fighting controller, you know, where they can move on that shit. They have the stick. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'll definitely try it. I think I'll give it a go. I think I'll give it a go when it comes out. Very, very interesting stuff.